Dear Thai, dear friends, I'm really happy to be here with you all this morning. It's a crisp and sunny morning here in the very north of Scotland at Findhorn. And I've been looking forward to this morning all week. And it's lovely to see some friends, some old friends, and also many new friends who I haven't met before. So for me, this is a very, very joyful opportunity to share with you what matters most in my life, I suppose, which is mindfulness practice, the Dharma, and music. I would like to offer a practice first, and it's a Sunday morning, and maybe some of us have been working over the week, and I would like to offer a deep relaxation practice, and one that is slightly different in that it will involve some listening, some deep listening, as well as some humming. There is an interesting science on humming emerging, and what intrigues me is that the researchers find that humming has similar effects on the nervous system that were discovered of mindfulness practice. So humming, of course, involves breathing and deep breathing, presumably. And so humming also calms our nervous system and sends reverberations or, the sound into the body, and almost offers a little massage to all the cells. And one could say it's breathing plus humming. So I will guide you through the process, and if you don't wish to hum, if we're all on mute, so you don't need to be shy, but if this doesn't resonate with you in the literal sense of the word, you don't have to do it. So please lie down if you wish, if you have somewhere nearby where you could lie comfortably, or just sit in a very comfortable way. If you sit, you might like to sit in a relaxed, upright way, naturally upright without straining or forcing. And I'm going to invite 3 sounds of the bell to give you a moment to find your comfortable way. I invite you to feel the support of the earth, feeling held by the earth. The whole body, allowing the weight to drop into the earth. And on each out breath, you might sink a little bit deeper into the ground or into your chair. Breathing in, being in touch with the whole body. Breathing out, letting go. What is it like to enjoy your breathing? This in-breath, this out-breath. What would it be like to receive the breath with the whole body? And what would it be like to send some love and warmth to the places in our body that need some love and warmth in this moment? And now I invite you to become curious about any sounds that your body might make. Perhaps you can hear your breathing. Perhaps you can hear your breakfast being digested. Allowing the sounds just to be there on their own terms. And perhaps there are some sounds around you in your room. Some might be very subtle, quiet. And maybe You have some stronger sounds there as well. Maybe there's the hum of a heater or other noises that houses produce. I can hear the wind in the chimney. And what would it be like to let go of labeling these sounds? Is there a way of listening where the sounds of life just come to you? They arise and pass. Is there a way of being with the symphony of life? Where sounds are allowed to arise and pass on their own terms. There might be distant sounds. You might even find some sounds resonate in your body. Allowing space for all of this arising and passing in our kind and friendly and curious awareness. And now I invite you, if you wish, to give sound, to gently give sound or more allow sound on your out breath. It could just be a breath sound, such as like shh. Even not yet engaging our vocal cords, just allowing the out breath to become sound. In a way that feels natural and maybe even playful. Give yourself permission to play with the sounds of your out breath, if you wish. And if this feels right and when you're ready, you now could allow your vocal cords to sound with a hum as well. What would a feel-good hum be like? A hum that resonates in your body in a pleasant sort of way. You might feel drawn to explore different pitches, and you might find that different pitches resonate in different parts of the body. And if you find that your body is experiencing some discomfort or some aches, pains, you might like to try directing your hum to these places of discomfort, along with a smile. Can you sense the humming, your humming, giving all your cells a little massage, a massage in resonance? And then slowly we'll bring this practice to a close. So you might like to come back to a moment of silence, just enjoying your breathing. You're sitting or lying, and being cradled by the sounds surrounding you. And then listening to your body, what your body would benefit from just now. Feel free to place a hand on some part of your body, or give yourself a stretch or a wiggle. And then in your own time, if you were lying, coming back to a seated position. I see some soft and smiling faces reappearing on the screen. That's lovely. I have thoroughly enjoyed preparing for this talk. It was a very fruitful contemplation for me. What does that mean, music as a Dharma door? Some of you know that I had the chance to study mindfulness and music academically. I did this wonderful course run by Aberdeen University, an MSc in mindfulness, and completed my thesis just over a year ago on music and mindfulness. No surprise here. More specifically on musical creativity and mindfulness practice. And that was in the secular context, in the context of secular mindfulness practice. And I have so appreciated this last week to reflect on the Dharma and music. And of course, there are lots of overlaps, but also in the Dharma, we water seeds of connection with the ultimate dimension. And that is a dimension that is at best implicit in secular mindfulness practice. And so that has been a very deep process for me. So I'd like to show you, this is no fancy slides. So this is a handmade diagram. So these were the themes that emerged for me and that I will talk about in this talk today. So there is the aspect of concentration, of presence, and a focused mind. These are all aspects that are both related with Dharma and Dharma practice, and with music making as much as receiving music. We are, maybe some of us play music or make music in manifold ways, and maybe some of us are just lovers of music and receive music and listen to music. And I think these all refer to both listening and making music. Music and Dharma can be a refuge, a safe place, a place of beauty, a place of coming home to ourself and life, a place of healing and transformation. And there's also the aspect of community and togetherness. So we can, in Dharma practice and in sharing music, we experience and build community and togetherness and water these seeds. And then there is the connection with the earth and with nature, which many songs in the Plum Village tradition water the seeds of. And then there's also an element of inclusiveness. The Dharma is for everyone, and music is for everyone to be enjoyed. I'm sure there are many more themes, and you will have to stop me after half an hour because it's such a rich theme for me. Music was my first meditation long before I knew anything about meditation. I learned the piano age 6, and the piano very quickly became a refuge for me, a safe space. My family was very dominated by conflict. Conflict that at times tipped into violence. That was my home environment as a young child. And when I closed the door of our living room to sit down and practice the piano, this was my safe space. It was a retreat for me. Playing scales and playing the works of Mozart and Chopin steadied my mind, soothed my feelings, and opened a world rich in colors and expression. I learned the old school classical way. That was what was available when I was young. And this practicing music taught me how to concentrate my mind with uninterrupted focus for 2 hours every day. I guess it also gave me a sense of, I hesitate to say discipline, because it wasn't a discipline for me in a way I wanted to do it, but it gave me a sense of practice, of something, of rhythm, of something that I do every day, which is as naturally as cleaning my teeth, my 2 hours of piano practice. And so that was already a strong habit energy, a positive habit energy when I came to mindfulness practice, that there is things that I benefit from that I just do every day. I remember my piano practice in my childhood and youth as a time of coming home to myself and of being very touched by this swirling world of sound. The sound of the piano has always touched me very deeply. And I can only describe this as an experience of intimacy and expansiveness at the same time. The effect that the sound of the piano has on me. And even as a child, now in hindsight, I believe that playing the piano and music, I was also singing and choirs, and I believe even as a child, music connected me with the ultimate dimension. I remember an experience in my school choir as a teenager. We were singing Mendelssohn, a sacred music, and there was a motet. It was in German, so having to translate it now out of the top of my head, it was asking God, in these terms, God, or in our terms, the ultimate, for guidance. It was one of the psalms. So asking God for guidance, the ultimate in life. And I remember singing this in a cathedral with a wonderful acoustic and reverberation in this big community of singers, and having, in hindsight, I would call it a very spiritual experience of deep connection through my body, through my heart, through my whole being with the ultimate. And as I'm sharing this, I get goosebumps. It's a memory that has stayed with me. And I imagine that many of you will have similar memories where music, listening or playing music, brought up this strong felt sense of connection with something larger. Music can also contribute to healing and transformation. And I have experienced this especially 16 years ago when I went through a few years of dealing with bereavement and loss. That was when a dear friend of mine, my former partner, took his own life. And it was, of course, a time of practicing with shock and grief and trauma. And I had already practiced for 10 years or so, so the practice was really ready there for me, established to hold me on a daily basis, walking and sitting and breathing. And also wonderful Sangha friends were a great source of support. And then also music and creativity became a great source of healing, I suppose. I took refuge in Plum Village at the time for a rains retreat. And I took with me Thai's book, No Death, No Fear, which became a faithful companion in my contemplation, deep contemplation of impermanence and interbeing. And there was a question and answers with Thai where he said the words, when someone takes their own life, they don't continue very beautifully. And this made me very sad. I could see the truth in it, but I also so wanted my dear friend to continue beautifully. And a short time later, I had a dream there in Plum Village. And what I saw in that dream was a CD. I had never done a full-length CD before. So I saw an album of music, and the cover artwork was a beautiful photograph of my deceased friend. And I took it as my store consciousness nudging me and showing me a creative path for my healing and transformation. So I set out to make a CD with pieces that had already existed, that I had already written. I can't say really written because it feels like receiving. It feels more like receiving that rather than making them up. And also then I conceived some new pieces as well. And it took 4 years of manifesting the CD with my lovely band in Germany, a trio, Marama trio. But when I had the CD in my hands, the finished recording, it really felt like I was at peace, as much as one can be at peace with an experience like this. And I felt like a rose had grown from my compost of suffering. And that my friend continued a little bit more beautifully. So I want to show you this album because it's called Continuations. And this is the photograph that my friend took and did something with it. He had wonderful photography in our shared computer, and this is Marama trio 10 years ago. So music was a strong part of my healing and transformation during those few years. So what I'd like to do, instead of inviting a bell just now, I would like to play you a piece on the piano. And it is called On His Journey to the Stars. And what I invite you to do is to let the sounds come to you as we practice in the deep relaxation, and enjoy your breathing. And maybe, if you wish, be gently aware of any resonance in your body and feelings. So I will invite the sound of a bell now. So far, I talked about how music can be a very personal experience of connection with, I suppose, with our store consciousness and with the ultimate dimension. But music also can be a collective experience. Of course, we have a lot of music in the Plum Village tradition. And the monastics chant before a Dharma talk is given to prepare our mind, to help us calm our minds, and so we can receive the teachings from a deeper place. And we have plenty of practice songs where when we sing together, waiting for the walking meditation to start, where we experience togetherness, and where seeds are watered of community, of joy, of aliveness, of insight. Of course, also they are the practice songs. Many of them have Thais words to them. So music has a collective dimension, a community dimension as well. And often in our culture, we see music as something exclusive, music making. This is for musicians, this is for people with a special talent, with special training. And of course, in other cultures, music is part of the fabric of daily life. I think there must have been times in the West where mothers sang lullabies to their children, and hopefully some mothers still do. And there is a rich tradition, for example, here in Scotland, of weaving songs, where the tweed was weaved in the Hebrides. There were songs for different parts of the work, stages of the work, where people bond through the singing and maybe enjoy their work, water seeds of joy in their work, or also thinking of the blues and the experiences of Black people, of slavery, where music was one way of perhaps keeping a sense of identity and of overcoming or living with the immense hardship of that experience. So music holds all of that, and yes, so there is no such thing as unmusical. And it's not just me saying this because I'm practicing inclusiveness, but actually the current science says this as well. There is no such thing as unmusical. I meet many people in my work as a music teacher who carry wounds from school, where maybe a teacher told them to not sing, maybe they were labeled as tone deaf, and they were not allowed to sing in class. And I had a wound like this. I was told I'm not creative. So for me, it was a healing journey to listen and find that I have music in me, pieces. So music is by nature inclusive, music making, or it could be. My experience of 40 years of music teaching is that music is a set of skills. There is rhythm, there's timing, there's musical memory, coordination, expression. All of these things make up music, and everyone who comes to learn music is good in some of these areas and not good in others. And the other areas can be learned. So if someone was asked to not sing, then that was because their vocal cords couldn't match the pitch of the song, but this is something that can be learned. And quite possibly this person had an amazing sense of timing and rhythm. But she doesn't know because she didn't have a chance to explore it. So music is a range, involves a range of skills, and chances are that everyone, including you, would be able to do some of these things quite easily if you were allowed to, or if there was a context for this to be explored. So everyone brings a natural talent to some areas of music. That's what has been my experience as a music teacher. And so one of the biggest joys of my work is to create opportunities, inclusive opportunities for creative music explorations where everyone is welcome. And I create these opportunities as much for myself as for the people who come, because there is something magical about creative music making where everyone can join in. And often surprises happen. So in 2012, I wanted to make an experiment, and that was a retreat. I offered a retreat called Sounds and Silence, Mindfulness and Music, here at Findhorn. And it was open to everyone, with or without musical training. And so there was a lovely group of maybe 15 people, and there was a concert pianist, and there was a Japanese lady, and there was a music teacher, there were some local folk players. There was a lady from Glasgow who phoned me beforehand and said, "I'm totally unmusical. May I come anyway?" And there were a few people who had learned an instrument way back in their youth but hadn't touched music ever since. And I have very fond memories of this weekend here at Findhorn. In fact, I would like to share a picture. Am I a co-host? Kev, am I a co-host?
You are, Susanne. I'll just make sure that you can.
So
there you go.
I'll try and share a picture. Which I think you might enjoy. And this is also where the nature connection comes in. So these are, you may or may not recognize Kyra Jewel, who then still was a sister. She came to Findhorn. And some friends. So one thing we did is we were outdoors a lot, and we were listening to nature sounds and using to inspire us and to play along with them. And some participants were musicians and brought instruments, and other people just used their voice, body percussion, or I call it my one world orchestra. So I brought a carload of percussion instruments, drums and rain sticks and other things where sounds can be produced by everyone. All it needs is presence and listening. And so this was a wonderful experience of building community together, of building our listening to each other and to ourselves and to nature and to the ultimate. And I remember that after the retreat, I received an email from this lady from Glasgow who had called herself completely unmusical and wasn't sure whether she could come. And she shared with me, I think her wording was, "I'm singing and drumming all around the house." So she came away with great, I suppose, in what she can do with what is available to her, with voice and with body percussion and sounds. And so that's, I guess, also could be seen as healing and transformation, but in a community context. And I'm looking very much forward to offering more sounds and silence retreats when the situation has stabilized again. I think this is a kind of retreat that wouldn't make sense on Zoom. So it has to be done in person, and we have to be together for it. And we want to go out in nature for it together. And we have a wonderful venue in the south of Scotland, Wiston Lodge. And I look forward in hopefully the not too distant future to collaborate with some maybe other Dharma teachers or their friends and offer some sounds and silence retreats where everyone is welcome. Currently, I just want to mention that with the situation as it is, where meeting in person is still, from a Scottish point of view, a bit dodgy. So I think we're not quite as far as ahead with getting rid of masks and so on as is England. So I offer still a number of things on Zoom, and I want to mention a series of music and mindfulness sessions with my dear friend Jo Holtaway, who some of you might know, who is a singer-songwriter in London and a Wake Up London practitioner and facilitator. And we offer monthly sessions, music and mindfulness, again, where everyone is welcome. And we had a really lovely group session last month where we did creative songwriting together, and some of the people had musical training and others hadn't, and had a real surprise that they found themselves making a song together. There happens to be, the next session happens to be tomorrow evening. And if this is something that you might like to join, you find it on the Plum Village UK website under events. So I'd like to conclude with another little diagram. So for me, music as a Dharma door is about connection. And it's a lovely coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence, that my lineage name that I received along with the 5 mindfulness trainings in 1998 is joyful connection of the heart. I received it in German, freudige Verbundenheit des Herzens. And Verbundenheit, connection, could also be translated as communion, joyful communion of the heart. And that is communion within, with oneself, coming home. That is connection with each other and with other beings and with nature, with the earth. And that is connection to the ultimate. And I imagine that most of you will find this experience in yourself, whether or not you might call yourself a musician. So I'm going to conclude with the sound of the bell.